or out of control spending, you would just say they're just tax cuts?
No, the opposite. I would consider it a wild. I would consider it a wild overspending.
Okay.
Meaning
so then
that,
was it under Trump then when he did the tax?
I mean, the deficit spending, by the way, under Biden is way worse than it was under.
Of course, but we're in post-COVID, right?
COVID ended effectively. I mean, you live in Florida. COVID effectively ended in the state of Florida by the middle of 2021.
Yeah,
I mean,
even
if you're a vaccine fan, by like April, May of
Mm-hmm.
2021, there was wide availability of vaccines, whether or not you like the vaccines.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were done.
I agree, but like we're in a post, like how many trillions of dollars have been dumped in worldwide that are like leading to inflation, right? The inflation is like a worldwide issue right now because of the economy shutting down for a year or two. It's not like those effects are gone in 1 year, right? COVID might be gone, but the after effects of all the stimulus spending and the unemployment and everything
The
else.
definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. So pouring more money on top of that makes for more inflation. That's what it does.
Sure, I agree.
Okay, let's use deflationary mechanisms then. You got monetary policy and you have fiscal policy. How about we use some fiscal policy? It's always monetary policy. Like, what do you mean? Ask Ben about what he would do as far as deflationary fiscal policies. I want to know what Ben Shapiro thinks we can do, because it will go against his own personal worldview. I mean, even neoclassical economists agree on this, I think. Hold on. Let me turn on this indoor walk. That's right. We're walking, baby.
But like there's also the definition of when do you deficit spend is when economies are headed for recessions, right? Rather than when economies are doing really well, like they were under Trump and he was deficit spending, whereas Biden can at least make the argument that I ought to be deficit spending because the economy is heading for potential recession. Right?
So here's the thing. I don't think that the economy was actually headed for recession. In fact, if you look at the economic statistics.
Every economist said it was.
No,
okay, they're still saying that there's like a recession coming, right?
Right, but that was largely because of the after effects of inflation, meaning if you inflate the economy, what you're going to end up doing is bursting a bubble. And then when that bubble bursts, you'll get a recession. I mean, that was the basic idea, right? The question was whether you're going to get a soft landing. But if you actually look at, for example, the employment statistics or the economic growth statistics in the United States, what they look like under the last year's Obama and then Trump, I mean, this is what the chart looks like. It looks like this, and then it hits March of 2020, it goes like that,
yeah,
right? And then by like September, it bounces back up, right? It's a V-shaped recovery, and then it starts to peter out.
Sure,
and
a lot because of the American Recovery Plan, right? That Biden did as well.
I mean,
4 million jobs. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to attribute it to that because the rates of growth in job growth from September, October, November were actually very similar to the rates of job growth after Joe Biden took office. What you see is actually kind of a straight line. I mean, what the chart looks like. In any case, okay. So on the foreign policy stuff, this is getting abstruse, but on the
Don't
on the foreign
save him, Legs. What are you doing? I mean, there are. God, I thought Destiny was like a Joe Biden simp. Doesn't he portray himself as like a big like he talks about Brandon being like a boss hog? This is one area where he should be fucking ripping into Ben Shapiro. What is happening? What is happening? You didn't even ride for Biden hard enough. What the fuck do you ride for? That's crazy. That's crazy. I thought you were... What is going on here? He barely brought up that Brandon brought 4 million jobs. Okay, fine. Where's the rest of the fucking... I can't believe this. Oh my God. Okay.
Policy stuff. So
he said that he's amazing in international politics. That's not enough writing. Yeah, he's writing for Biden on the worst fronts. Biden is actually pretty progressive on domestic policies in comparison to prior leadership. Okay, so Biden, and I've talked about this quite a bit, Biden has actually done a decent job on many domestic issues. Okay, pro-labor, like his advocacy on that front. The fact that he even cut a deal with the rail workers after forcibly breaking their strike, but quietly getting their demands met with the railroad. Now, even if you're like a liberal guy, okay, you can openly admit that that was a good thing that he did. Okay, his agency appointments were great. He has beefed up the NLRB. He's done a decent job. With the FTC, even with the SEC, like there's a lot going on that Biden has done a decent job with. Okay, demands were met, yes. However, and the IRA is not bad either. You got fucking battery development facilities, which are slated to be unionized, by the way. You have a lot more manufacturing facilities opening up, a lot more jobs. These are all good things that Biden did. Okay. Video games are back under Biden. Let's be real. Anyway. Now, if I were to advocate for Biden, those are the things that I would push on. Okay? He's done a decent job. I don't know why he's not talking about it. Anyway, let's continue.
Grand
Theft Auto 6 was announced under Biden. Didn't happen under Trump, let me tell you that.
questions that I have with regard to Biden on foreign policy. Very, very simple question. Do you think that the situation in the Middle East is better now than it was under Donald Trump?
Probably. That's a hard one. The factors
Why?
that I'm making right now are like, obviously you've got the.
Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. Yes, of course it's worse. Directly as a consequence of the Trump regime. That's it. That's the answer. There's only one answer to this. There's only one answer to this. It's Trump. It's literally Trump. That's the reason why Biden is bad. He is continuing. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was Kaya eating a bone. Okay. I have to fucking I can't walk and yell at the same time. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know a lot of people say, Hassan, all of my haters, especially like Destiny fans that come in here, they always say like I'm so bad about foreign policy. But I really legitimately think Destiny is really, really, unfortunately, a little out of his depth here, okay? The issue with the Biden regime is that it is a direct continuation of Donald Trump's horrible foreign policies, okay? Horrible foreign policies. You can just very easily turn this around. You're not letting it play.
Israel-Palestinian war that's going on right now, which is kind of bad. But like broadly speaking, I'm not sure how much that affects the Middle East as much as like the collapse of Syria. 2013 Syrian civil war sent millions of immigrants throughout all of Europe,
Which was under
Obama and continued under Trump. Trump didn't do anything to alleviate any of the Syrian civil war.
Why did Syria end up as a preserve of Russia again?
How did Syria end up as a preserve of Russia?
Yes. Why did it end up being essentially a client state of Russia?
I know that Putin enjoys access to the ports down there. I don't know.
I mean, the reason is because Barack Obama suggested that there was a red line that would be drawn in the face of chemical weapons use. Bashar Assad then used chemical weapons in Syria, and Barack Obama was unwilling to then essentially create consequences for Syria in the form of any sort of Western strike. And so instead he outsourced it to Russia. This is 2013, 2014.
Sure.
Right?
Do you think there might have been some hesitancy after like seeing how Libya ended up that maybe us like intervening?
Who was president during Libya? Yeah, I mean, like, so
sure, but what does that have to do with anything? I'm just saying, like, there might have been like a mistake learned.
The point that I'm making is that actually the Middle East, I mean, just historically speaking, it was historically good under Donald Trump. I mean, it's very difficult to make the case that either before or after Trump were better than during.
Okay, foreign policy, just like economic policy, really is almost always a direct continuation of prior administrations. Okay, everything that happened in the Brandon administration, you can directly find fault in the administration prior. Even Syria, when you talk about putting the blame on Biden, is still it's still a major problem due to the former war on terror and the destabilization that the Republican administration of George W. Bush created. It doesn't matter ultimately because both parties are completely aligned when it comes to foreign policy anyway. But if you were to try and make an argument here between like foreign policy between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is still worse. It's just the truth. Donald Trump greatly escalated drone strikes. Donald Trump was horrifyingly bad on the issue of Israel-Palestine. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem was a major misstep. A misstep that I don't even think Hillary fucking Clinton would have done. Okay? These are all awful flubs. The Abraham Accords was genuinely awful. Genuinely awful. Casting aside the signature accomplishment of the Obama administration in the form of the Iran denuclearization agreement, which was created through so much unilateral cooperation and was continued on with our European contemporaries literally going in and investigating, putting fucking cameras in nuclear facilities. Oh, it's just so bad. Biden's faults and failures are a direct consequence of following on the Trump agenda on foreign policy, okay? Trump literally killed Qasem Soleimani. It's not even a fucking question. Like, multilateral, I said unilateral. You're right. Sorry, multilateral.
Donald Trump.
I mean, Syrian, I don't think that Trump contributed to the Syrian situation in improving much. I think
he did wreck ISIS, which was in the.
I mean, ISIS had been getting wrecked by the Kurds in Iraq, by every single person, by Assad's army, by Putin, by Turkey. Literally everybody was fighting against ISIS at that point.
There's a spike in violence, and then the Trump. I mean, You get credit for when you're president, presumably. I mean, things got better with ISIS under Trump.
I mean, yeah, they did. I mean,
Things got worse
were,
with ISIS under Obama.
for sure.
He called them the
Something
JV
good.
squad.
Sure.
And then they became not the JV
Bro,
squad.
Yeah.
who created ISIS? Shut the fuck up. Dude, how is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Trump literally killed the #1 ISIS killer in the fucking region, okay? Qasem Soleimani, sure, bad guy. You don't like him, okay? Plenty of people don't like him in the region. But undeniably, that's the guy who was killing ISIS, okay? Trump did such a good job of dealing with ISIS that he killed the fucking #1 ISIS killer. Jesus Christ. Lamar Hassan is a crybaby, to be honest. Okay, I'm embellishing for the point of like, being entertaining here because it's such a fucking boring ass debate otherwise. I don't know why you immediately go, oh, yes, this is a Republican. Never mind. I love you, brother. Spartan 1117. Let me tell you. Oh my God, we caught one, boys. We got a Republican in the building. Listen, Patriot. I love you, okay? You're right. Fuck Joe Biden, baby.
But I don't know if ISIS.
God, I got so excited. One conservative in like a sea of annoying, smarmy liberals. Oh, hell yeah.
This is originating in Syria, and Baghdadi, and all of the growth of that is necessarily Obama's fault. I know that we like to say that Obama created ISIS. I don't know if you say that, but I've heard that saying a lot. I think that's a little bit simplistic. I don't think that when I'm looking at like actions that presidents have taken, the biggest criticism I have for like Middle Eastern policy is I think the Doha Accords were a disaster, and I think that's like one of the biggest blemishes that we have right now. I would also argue that moving the embassy to Jerusalem was also kind of silly,
Yes.
and arguably contributed to some of the conflict we see right now.
No,
between
it's
Israel and
arguably
Israel.
I'll argue precisely the
Some? No, that's huge. That's a huge deal. No, you're right. Don't fucking back away.
opposite,
What?
especially given the fact that after the
God damn it. Wikipedia reading motherfucker. Jesus Christ.
movement of the embassy to Jerusalem, the Abraham Accords continued to sign and actually expand. And that if Donald Trump had been elected, I have no doubt in my mind that Saudi Arabia would now be a part of the Abraham Accords. In fact, that was basically pre-negotiated. And then when Joe Biden...
Oh, dude. Oh, shit. Wait, I didn't realize. Guys, if Saudi Arabia officially normalized relations with Israel, then the Palestinian population would magically go, oh, fuck, dude. Saudi Arabia, which we love and are super fond of, are now dealing with Israel. So I guess that must mean that, like, the situation is solved. Shut the fuck up, Ben, you fucking idiot. What do you mean Saudi Arabia? The fuck are you talking about? October 7 literally is a direct consequence of writing out the Palestinians from the equation completely and trying to normalize relations with Gulf states, but while sidestepping the Palestinians entirely.
took office, Joe Biden took a very anti-Saudi stance on a wide variety of issues. The biggest single effect in the Middle East of Joe Biden's presidency, and again, I agree with you that not every foreign policy issue can be laid at the hands of a president. Joe Biden's main approach to the Middle East was very similar to the Obama approach, which is why the Middle East was chaotic under Obama and chaotic under Biden. And that was to alienate allies like Saudi Arabia and Israel, and instead to try to make common cause or cut deals with Iran. What that did is incentivize terrorism from Iran. What we're watching in the Middle East is Iran attempting to use every one of its terror proxies in the Middle East, and it was specifically launched in an attempt...
It's so funny that he's saying this when, like, Iran, Israel, and the United States of America said that Iran was not involved in October 7, okay? Why did all three of them say that? Even Iran themselves said, October 7 was sick. We loved it, but, like, not gonna lie, we can't take credit for it. So why did that happen? Okay? Why did that happen? That's because the Palestinians did October 7. Hamas and other Palestinian militias did October 7. Okay? The notion that this has anything to do with Iran is really stupid beyond the fact that, like, yeah, of course, Iran is still arming Hamas and training Hamas and whatnot, but, like, they're not the ones who did it. And the major reason as to why it happened is because they were not dealing with the Palestinians at all. They were just completely writing off the Palestinians from the equation with the Abraham Accords. It is a genuine, massive, disastrous foreign policy failure. Whoo, goddamn, dude. And by the way, you are not going to find a single person in the American foreign policy blob that will actually genuinely, legitimately agree with Ben's point here. Okay? I'm talking like Rand Corporation is not going to fucking agree with this. This is so stupid.
to avoid what Biden actually was trying.
Haaretz doesn't agree with it. Former Shin Bet officials don't agree with it. Former Israeli Knesset members don't agree with it. The idea that Ben is right and all of these academics and all these fucking wonks and dudes who are like Zionists themselves and totally on board with Israel, the fact that they don't agree with Ben, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, Iran literally was pissed and told Ismail Haniyeh, when he went to Tehran, that Khomeini said, we trained you all for a future war, but you went ahead and left the whole axis of resistance in the dark. Yeah. Like they literally, they just completely did it on themselves, on their own. And they did it specifically because they were completely written out. Like a couple weeks prior, Netanyahu went in front of the UN and basically showed a fucking map where Palestine didn't even exist. Okay?
Trying to, which was good, which was after 2 years of failure with Saudi Arabia, try to bring them into the Abraham Accords, right? That was what was burgeoning at the end of last year. And Iran saw that, and Iran decided that they were going to throw a grenade into the middle of those negotiations by essentially activating Hamas.
Wait, if that's the case, if Iran activated Hamas to fuck up the Abraham Accords, then doesn't that undermine the point that you're trying to make? So what if Saudi Arabia joined in on the Abraham Accords? What difference does that make? What do you mean? What a dumb fucking argument to make.
Activates Hamas, commits October 7th. Israel, as a sovereign nation state, has to respond to the murder of 1,200 of its citizens and the taking kidnapping of 240. Israel has to do that not only to go after its own hostages and try to restore them, but also to reestablish military deterrence in the most violent region of the world. Hezbollah gets active on Israel's northern border. Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy. They get active on the northern border.
Dude, I would destroy Ben on Israel-Palestine shit. I'm serious. He is so bad. I think it's because he's like really confident because a lot of people in his orbit 100% agree with him. Okay? Like Destiny is going to agree with him. He's not going to disagree with him because he has assumed a position of being like an ultra Zionist himself. It's crazy. The idea that like Saudi relations with Israel would somehow Saudi relations with Israel will somehow like fix the problem of Palestinians being ethnically cleansed and living under an apartheid is so stupid. Unless you literally think that Arabs all are of one mind or something. You know what I mean? They all operate with one mind.
Houthis in Yemen get active. These are all the only reason all this is happening at the same time is because Iran is doing this, right? And not just that, they're threatening global shipping. If you're talking about the effects of global supply lines, which I totally agree had a major inflationary effect on the economy thanks to COVID, right now the cost of shipping is nearly double what it was just a few weeks ago, and that is
damn. That's crazy, man. Maybe Israel should stop fucking pummeling Gaza then.
Because a ragtag group of Houthi barbarians are attacking international shipping and forcing everybody to stop using the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and instead going around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. All of that is the result of the fact that Joe Biden reoriented the United States in the very early days in favor of a more pro-Iranian stance. He appointed Robert Malley to negotiate the Iran deal, who, as it turns out, was using proxies. Many of his aides were actually taking money from Iran. The Biden administration, literally one of their first acts was to delist the Houthis as a terror organization and end sanctions against the Houthis. And these are all moves that Biden made very early on. They were disastrous moves. But when it comes to domestic...
I like that he's saying Biden is bad, which, by the way, this is exactly what I talk about when I talk about why Biden comes across as weak. Okay? Because it's wishy-washy bullshit. Like, he's literally hitting Biden on, like, some of the good things that he did as far as foreign policy, and then wrapping that around and talking about how bad Biden is when Biden is literally doing exactly what Ben wants. Ben's argument is Biden should be just as fucking ruthless to the Yemeni population as Trump would have been, right? And also simultaneously talking about complete nonsense, like the Abraham Accords would be successful if Saudi Arabia automatically normalized relations. Saudi Arabia would be on fucking fire right now if China had not facilitated a goddamn deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia to halt hostilities in Yemen, okay, to end the blockade, to end the genocide. Let me tell you, the idea that a cessation of hostilities was not beneficial for Saudi Arabia is ridiculous. So China actually did more in terms of like fixing that area than America did. It's so unimaginably stupid to make this argument that if Saudi had openly normalized relations with Israel as opposed to like what they're doing now, which by the way, since day one, Saudi Arabia, before the American CENTCOM came into play, was already fucking trying to intercept Houthi missiles and shit on its way to fucking Israel regardless. Saudi Arabia has been aligned with Israel in perpetuity at this point. It's so ridiculous. We're not talking about like the 1970s. Okay? You're giving too much credit to China. Saudi went to them to spite the U.S. for not helping against the Houthis. Brother, I'm not a BRICS, I'm not like a BRICS truther at all. I understand that. These countries are leveraging their relations with China in an effort to get better deals or make better demands from the United States of America. I agree. Okay? I'm simply telling you what is going on. What happened is the Iran-Saudi normalization agreement was facilitated by China. That is true. That came with a cessation of hostilities against the Yemeni population.
Policy. I think he hasn't been nearly as damaging as domestic policy as he has been on foreign policy.
Sure. So just on a couple of Middle Eastern things. So one of the big things that threw the Middle East into disaster was what we are all traumatized by it now, was the Iraq invasion, which I'm a Republican president. You sure agree with that, right?
Sure.
Yes. The deposition of Saddam Hussein and everything that followed after probably contributed more to the growth of ISIS.
Wait, Destiny is anti-Iraq invasion. That's really shocking. I mean, all of his supporters are making like pro-Iraq invasion style arguments lately. So I thought that's shocking. Okay, let's continue.
The destabilization of that entire region, probably more than anything else. I think that under prior to
why are you anti-Iraq invasion? Are you a Saddam supporter? It's kind of interesting.
Bush, for Clinton, even at the beginning of Bush's presidency, we were on some kind of road to normalcy with Iran, which I think has to happen, whether we like them or not, until Bush, for whatever reason, decides to throw Iran into the axis of evil.
I need some evidence that we were on a road to normalcy with Iran in the 1990s.
That
we were on a road to normalcy with Iran in the 1990s.
My understanding is that, from the late 90s and prior to the axis of evil labeling of Iran, that there was going to be some path forward to where we could start to normalize relationships with them.
I find that very difficult to believe, and I don't see a lot of evidence. I mean, we can just disagree on that.
Sure, we can disagree on that.
Why? I mean, why does Ben disagree with that? I wonder. I mean, I don't personally think that America was ever genuinely interested in normalizing relations with Iran, but why does Ben disagree with that? I wonder.
But I know that
the after effects, just quick note, the after effect of the Iraq War that was the most devastating was the increase in power of Iran.
I agree. Yeah, because of the destabilization of Iraq and Iraq not having a government that.
Wait, that's the bad part of the invasion of Iraq, is that it gave Iran more power in the region. That's
that was functional for at least a decade,
and was in fact a Sunni government, right? Originally, it was a Sunni government. Disbanding the Sunni army was one of the worst things that the Bush administration did.
Banning all the former Ba'ath parties,
sectarian,
all horrible under a Republican president. But
don't disagree.
That that probably contributed more to ISIS, to the growth of power in Iran, maybe even to the destabilization of Syria, probably more than anything that Obama did. Also, when we look at Iran funding people in the region, I don't disagree with that as well. I think Iran is the #1 instigator of bad guy things right now in the Middle East. Iran, the IRGC, I supported when Donald Trump killed Soleimani. I think that was a great thing. I think that Iran is a major problem.
Wait, I don't get it. So if you're I'm sorry. He's anti-deposition of Saddam, but pro-assassination of Qasem Soleimani. Like, one created a power vacuum. The other one greatly escalated tensions. Why is the other, like, if you're against one, why are you not against the other? It doesn't make sense. I mean, this is like entirely incoherent. If you're talking about the destabilization of the Middle East, he is anti-Saddam. I think you misheard. No, but he said the deposition of Saddam and the destabilization of Iraq was greatly beneficial to Iran. Okay? And he's talking about it like we shouldn't have done that. I don't know what his solution is. I have never interrogated his positions on the matter, but like, you can't. The assassination of Qasem Soleimani was unimaginably bad. It was a total fuck up, genuine fuck up. Definitely not appropriate. And the only reason why it didn't escalate into further conflict is restraint on the Iranian side, partially as a consequence of their own economic prospects in general. But it's not because of America. America was not being restrained in that situation at all. It was a gross violation of sovereignty. Anyway, having said that, I mean, this is a classic liberal position, I think, which is like, maybe he's a Baathist. Yeah. Yeah. Wait till he finds out that the Baathists are secular. He's going to be like, wait, they're not Islamist fundamentalists? I didn't get to that part of the Wikipedia page. Maybe they're not so bad. Yeah, what's not to like, dude? Secular guys, pro-America early on. I'm just saying. Maybe not so bad. Anyway,
problem. However, I don't know if the path forward
Saddam was
is
a classical
constantly being a
liberal.
belligerent to Iran or trying to figure out some road to normalcy. I don't know if the collapse of Iran or the destruction of that country, considering how unpopular the Ayatollah even is there, like the citizens of Iran, I don't think are big supporters of the government there. I feel like moving on a path where, let's do our nuclear inspections. We had that Iranian nuclear deal that Trump pulled out of. Let's do nuclear inspections. Make sure you're not on the way to nuclear weapons. Let's unfreeze some funds. Let's move in some direction where we get on a good term with you. I feel like that's the most important thing that needs to happen in the Middle East. As much as people like to look at the Abraham Accords, who cares if, what was it? Bahrain, I think Oman, I think
UAE,
Sudan,
Morocco.
the UAE and Morocco. Yeah, are something like all of these people, even Saudi Arabia, already have like de facto normalization with Israel anyway. They're all trading.
No,
they're all-
this is, I mean, to pretend that anybody even 15 years ago would have been talking about normalization in Saudi Arabia and Israel is insane. I mean,
Why would that be insane? Why would that be insane? Saudi Arabia did 9/11 and we just acted like that was not even a big deal and immediately said Iran, which was Saudi Arabia's proxies, enemies in the region, was actually responsible for it. We literally had Saudi Arabia do 9/11. We turned around and attacked belligerently every fucking other country in the region. We went into Afghanistan. We went into Iraq. And we claimed that Iran was somehow aligned with these countries when they were literally aligned with us against all of the fucking Wahhabist and Salafist sects in the region. What the fuck? What are you saying? Why wouldn't we have a complete normalization agreement set in place between Saudi Arabia and Israel? They're both are incredibly important allies in the region. The fuck are you talking about? This is so silly. Come on, dude. Push back, please. I'm like a little kid with a fucking I'm like a little kid with a stick. Like, do something. Come on.
that's
They
insane.
were already on that path.
They
They had already been they were already
That's-
de facto
that's a
trading
w-
partners with each other.
they had
They had already been collaborating and
That's
doing
a
things.
wild claim that Israel and Saudi Arabia were going to normalize 15 years ago.
15.
That's not a wild claim. That's not a wild claim at all. Shut the fuck up, Ben. That's not a wild claim at all. What the fuck are you talking about? That's not. Why is that a wild claim? Oh my God. Why would that be a wild claim? They're both profoundly important trade partners of the United States of America. It's not like we magically decided 15 years ago to start giving Saudi Arabia weapons or have bases. The fuck is Ben talking about? You're so dumb. Fuck. How can he talk so much about Israel, Palestine, and just not know anything? At least like know the right talking points. No, the reason why he's saying this as a wild claim is because he doesn't know what the correct talking points would be in this situation. The only thing that the Abraham Accords did was make the private relationship that Saudi Arabia had with America, and not so private really, and in recent years especially, and all the other Gulf nation states, the relations that they had with America and Israel, because Israel is a continuation of America, okay? It was just to make it public. That's it.
Years ago might have been a wild claim.
That's
but after Turkey, after Jordan, and then in the past like 20 years of like economic relations and ties with each other, all of the leadership in the Middle East, and you'll agree with this, look at Israel and they go, okay, well, we got Palestinians who, God bless them, do nothing, and then you've got Israel, which is on a region with no natural resources to somehow become like an economic giant. They're good to trade with. Their population is educated. They have military power. All of the leadership in these Middle Eastern countries are wanting to be friendly with Israel and are engaging in trade.
Dude, why is Destiny using like Zionist arguments like he's like 65 years old or something? Like, this is what Joe Biden believes, okay? I feel like these are arguments that like a really old person would make who like thinks about the glory days of Israel, 6-day war type shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, he's a Zionist, but like I feel like the talking points have been updated by now. He's like, yeah, everybody wants to be everybody is like, wow, look at Israel, the greatest economy, no natural resources. They took a swamp and they turned it into, bountiful harvest. It's like, yeah, dude, I can't believe the Israel, bountiful nation. They made ways, dude. It's an entire country filled to the fucking brim with goddamn DJs and also Pegasus spy tech, okay? What the fuck are you talking about? The entire purpose of Israel is a destabilizer in the region. It's America's military base as a country. That's it. With its own motherfucking espionage network. This is crazy.
Factor with Israel, and the idea that like the UAE and Bahrain were brought in to say like, oh well, now we're going to officially say this. I just
those are the first steps toward obviously the formation of a new Middle East in which economics would predominate over sectarian conflict. The chief obstacle to that is Iran. The notion that negotiations with the Ayatollah were going to be a solution to any of this is,
but do we think
absolutely benighted.
Is it the Abraham Accords that's convincing Saudi Arabia to take a stance against Iran?
No, I mean,
they're already fighting with each other, right? Like, no, I don't think the Abraham Accords moved us any closer towards any type of real peace in the world. What has to happen is something has to happen with Iran.
Good job.
There has to be some diplomatic bilateral communication there.
No, what has to happen is the containment.
He's right. That's good. That's a good way to talk about it.
Which was what was taking place with the increased normalization with the Sunni Arab world and Israel, combined with significant economic sanctions.
Dude, I think Lex is interjecting too much. He really needs to dial it back in this debate. I mean, he's really punching a lot. You know what I mean? He's got to pull back a little bit, right? Come on, Lex.
The notion that
there's
this far-fetched notion in foreign policy circles that diplomacy can sort of be wish cast out of thin air. That if you sit around a table, that you can always come to an agreement with somebody. The Ayatollahs do not have common interests with the United States. They do not. And this idea that they are willing to take money in exchange for example, some sort of peaceful acquiescence to Israel's existence is obviously untrue.
Hasn't that been the case, though? That you've had a region with tons of sectarian violence for a long time, and then finally Turkey was like, you know what, this isn't worth it. The United States paid them a lot of money. They had conversations with Israel. You know what, the economy, the economic gains.
Well, I mean, the relation.
Same thing with Jordan. Same thing with
Turkey. The fuck's he talking about? Turkey. Turkey is a NATO country. It has been Israel's #1 dick rider privately and even publicly for quite some time. I don't know why he's fucking talking about Turkey. The fuck does he mean Turkey? There's no way. I don't think he's talking about Turkey, right? There's no shot.
Turkish politics,
sure,
but the situation with Turkey was actually quite warm between Israel and Turkey in the 90s when you had the sort of secular Muslim regime
in the 90s, but they signed
Kemal Ataturk in place, and now Erdogan has joined in the fray, and Erdogan is significantly more radical than what before.
No, he's not. Shut the fuck up. It's just chirp, dude. It's just this. It's just chirp. Ben, shut up. Turkey's significantly more radical. Yeah, dude. Turkey has, like, even during the Mavi Marmara situation, okay, Erdogan was constantly fucking yelling at Israel while they were still training Israeli pilots in Turkey in American bases. Like, the idea that Turkey has ever been at odds with Israel and its existence or with Zionism is fucking bullshit. Okay?
Oh, sorry. If I said Turkey, I meant Egypt. My bad.
Yeah. Okay. So
Egypt, yeah.
Right.
So like, in terms of like Egypt and Jordan, right, were the first two.
You need
big
practice. So here's the thing.
Mhm.
You need.
No.
Is it possible that you could theoretically come to a deal with Iran only with a new leadership?
He was not talking about Turkey. He was talking about Egypt. Two entirely and utterly. Okay. insane mix-up, but
True.
fine.
Okay, this is true for every peace agreement in the region. You could not, Israel could not have made peace with.
Well, they made peace with Egypt, and
no.
Sadat was the leader for Yom Kippur,
He
right?
did not make peace with Nasser. Right.
Sure.
The point is that this is a different regime. You need a different regime. This is
But
one
I'm
of
saying
the
the same regime that did the part of the Yom Kippur War was the same regime that negotiated peace with Israel.
I mean, that's true. It is also true that that is a relationship that could be cultivated specifically because it was Sadat who made clear he was going to come to the table. Have the Iranians ever made clear that they would come to the table over, for example, the existence of the state of Israel?
No.
I mean, that is not a thing that's going to happen.
But I think people probably felt the same.
Every single one of their proxy groups, every one of them, not only calls for the destruction of the state of Israel, they also call for the destruction of America. I mean, this is literally the Houthi slogan. They're busy hitting ships, and
that's crazy. Why aren't they saying nice things about America instead? Aw. That's crazy. He thought Erdogan was the prime minister of Israel like 2 months ago? Yeah, after saying that he was the president of Syria or something. I saw the video. I saw the clip. Yeah. Like, the current Iranian regime is a direct consequence of American intervention. American intervention that originally came in 1953, okay, before Iran could ever even develop any real relations with Israel. So that's another American fuck up. So I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. I guess like Ben has to be a Shah defender in general though. But he got Arafat and Erdogan mixed up. It is pretty cool that you can, demonstrate your overall lack of interest, care, knowledge when it comes to like Middle Eastern policy, foreign policy in general. But as long as like you're kind of aligned with American State Department shit, it like really doesn't matter. Most people will go, yeah, you're right. And also, all the better if your ideological foes are fucking Muslim background. So then I can just say maybe there's like some kind of additional biases occurring here that is clouding their opinion on the region.
Their slogan is literally Allahu Akbar, death to America, death to the Jews, death to Israel. It doesn't fit on a bumper sticker, and it's not all that catchy, but that is in fact their slogan. The notion that the regime that propagates that is going to be approached with diplomacy is not only wrong. The problem is that it's easy to say the stakes of diplomacy are okay. So we try to talk, right? Jaw is better than war. Sure. The only problem is that in the Middle East, weakness is taken as a sign that aggression might be an appropriate response. That is how things work in the Middle East. And the fact that Barack
Oh, is that how things work in the Middle East? Yeah, because why, Ben? Why is that how things work in the Middle East? Elaborate a little bit. Come on, Destiny. Ask him why he thinks that. These are not like, look, doesn't matter what your perspective is here. Doesn't matter if you agree with Israel or disagree with Israel. If you're looking at this on purely the fundamentals of debate, that's a fucking weak spot that any seasoned debater would immediately fucking hone in on and go, why do you think that is the only way to deal with people in the Middle East? And then he says, well, it's their culture. They understand barbarism only, blah, blah, blah. And it's like a very racist thing to say, and you give them the rope to hang themselves with afterwards. Now, of course, I don't think Destiny is going to interrogate that because this is one area where he 100% agrees with. Like, I think him and Ben Shabibo are like completely fucking aligned on this issue.
That Joe Biden rather came into office with an orientation toward continuing the Obama policies in Iran has led to conflagrations, these sort of brush fires breaking out everywhere that Iran has borders with either the West or Israel or both, right? Any place that's happening is leading to brush fires because, again, the logic of violence in the Middle East is not quite the logic of violence in other places in the world. By the way, I think the logic of violence in the Middle East is actually closer to what most international politics looks like than we wish that it were.
Violence in the Middle East is not like anywhere else in the world? The fuck does that mean, brother? What are you saying? The logic of violence in the Middle East? What?
I mean, I think that's part of what's happening in Ukraine as well.
So you think
which brings me, by the way, here's my question about Ukraine.
Sure. Well, just real quick, and then you can answer this one now. So you think that for Iran, right, a country that has been sanctioned for God knows how many years now, you think that for Iran, just continuing to sanction them and contain them is an effective way, is more effective than trying to engage them in bilateral or multilateral peace talks?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, if that's the case, then why did the Iran denuclearization deal work tremendously well, as a matter of fact? Why did it? We also cooperated with Iran in the Middle East for the damn near duration, the entirety of our war on terror. Like, we didn't just come up with our fucking bombing targets on our own. We got them from Iran. So, what's up? Can we cooperate with these fucking barbarian animals, these Muslim animals, these brown scary guys? Or can we not cooperate with them? This is turned into an interview. Please, Destiny. Ask
And the proof is in the pudding.
Oh my
Before we
God.
go to Ukraine, can I ask about Israel? So you're both mostly in agreement, but what is
I don't know
Israel?
if I'd say that.
Okay, but
What are you disagreeing
as
with?
I'm learning,
Come on.
what is Israel doing right? What is Israel doing wrong in this very specific
Get
current
in there, Lex.
war in Gaza?
I mean, frankly, I think that what Israel's doing wrong is if I were Israel, okay,